We have seen a complete collapse of the Russian position globally because of the Ukraine war. They need everything that they have in that war. We are in the process kind of expanding that mindset over the rest of Central America and the Caribbean and Cuba. In a world where the Chinese and the Russians share obsessed with local issues, I really do think Cuba's going to come in from the cold, and I will have a broadly protective relationship, and they kind of join the NFTA family, if you will. The opportunities there for manufacturing are actually quite impressive. That just left South America, and people forget that South America is not one thing. You have got your northern tier of Colombia's peninsula, which are separate from one another but have Caribbean frontiers. We already have a free trade deal with the Colombia, and we are in the easy stage of seeing their interaction in NFTA. Structure, Ecuador, Peru and Chile are separate from everyone else by the Himalayas. We already have a free trade deal with the Chileans, and relations with the Peruvians are reasonable. Ecuador is kind of its own thing. The only place where you can get interaction with the region is the southern arm of Brazil, Argentina and the gases, but Brazil is dependent upon international trade. Argentina is not, so we can have that part of the world which is future from us than Europe kind of go its own way, and as long as we keep Phrygians powers from using the Western Hemisphere as a foothold, this is an easy cry. One of the reasons that the Monroe Doctrine worked, even though we didn't have a functional navy at the time. The Western Hemisphere is a long haul from the Eastern Hemisphere's land masses, especially when we are talking about places like Japan or Europe that are far north instead of far south. So we can build out a system where we incrementally expand the economic orbit of an FTA to countries that we are willing and eager. I might add, while at the same time we basically put up a bit of an invisible area around the hemisphere to prevent others from coming united engineering in anything cute. It used to be that the Soviets were very active in places like Ecuador or Mexico or Venezuela or Cuba, but we have seen a complete collapse of the Russian position globally because of the Ukraine war. They need everything that they have in that war, and they have closed down the Wenger operation in Africa. They have pulled almost all of their equipment out of America and Syria. They have removed their bases from the Chinese border. They have even closed down their bases on the border with Finland, which is about to join NATO. Everything they have is going to Ukraine, and win or lose, they will not be able to rebuild their position in most places, which makes Monroe that much easier. Do you think China is going to step Russia in the back if the Russian nuclear arsenal prevails to be as invade of safe as everything else in the air? Oh, yeah. Eastern Siberia is in play, but they are going to wait for the Russians to launch and fail to launch before they would make that decision now. I personally don't think the Russians are going to hit the big red button. I think the case for that is past. It used to be that they are seriously considering Nequins, Berlin, Warsaw, Stockholm, Paris and London in order to dispute the weapons flow into Ukraine, but at the bottom of Ingem last month, the Ukrainians captured in 36 hours more equipment for the Russians than NATO had transferred in 7 months. So the Ukrainians now their biggest problem like different maintains on Russians equipment, and if they decide that wanted to go for say the United States, we made it very clear to Putin that if you do hit the US, the first person who dies is everyone who's in the blast radius of the weapons. That is targeting Putin personally, and so he doesn't get to write the story here. History will record him as the person who destroyed the Russian Federation, and since then he personally has not threatened nukes. He each lifted it to his Frankens to number one. We get our Western Hemisphere semi-hermetically slated system that goes its own way. So NFT is already the world's second largest manufacturing base. It's already the world's largest consumable base that gets entrenched and oriented, and I think the future of North America and anyone they decide to kind of include in their circle is going to be pretty bright. Japan is a country that has managed to negative itself into the inner circle. The highest of Trump's power, Trump and the Japanese Prime Minister cut a deal that was humiliating for the Japanese, but that was seen in Japan's the price of joining the club. That was important. And then within a month of Biden coming in, the Japans showed up in the Oval Office, said, "Just so we are clear, this deal stand. We don't want to take it." And so if the Japanese can cut a deal with both sides of the American spectrum, when we are having a little bit of a political argument, we know that the Japanese are in it for the long haul. Australia is in it for the long haul. New Zealand is in it for the long haul. Britain, they have got to figure out Brexit, but once they do, I have no doubt that they are going to be kind of joining this Western Hemisphere club. Beyond that, yes, I think that we have set is a good sum of where we are facing. If you are an advanced power that has anyway, this is capable of expeditionary operations. The questions whether or not you can access the sufficient input to make your system work. Now for countries like France, agriculture is fine, electricity is fine, their weak point is oil, but they have got Libya and Algeria right there, which is enough for them and the cluster of countries immediately around them. So I see significant argument by the France in that zone, and they kind of established would not call it an empire. One of the things that made the empire work is that the imperial countries were industrialized and the non-imperial countries, the colonies, were not, and so the force disconnect was hard, and they were able to lord over them. That's not the world now. It does not take an industrial base to have an AK-47, so it's going to be more of an association than a colonization, and that provides a lot more hope for some of the poor side. The United Kingdom will probably have to do this with Nigeria. The Germans, oh my god, I don't know that the Germans are going to do, because they are just not anywhere close by. Normally this has led the Germans into the Russian space, and based on how Russians look like after they, maybe there's going to be something there, but I think a disassociation